Good morning. About to be good afternoon. How are you guys doing this morning? I am doing pretty good. I had a rougher shift at work yesterday, and I'll just leave it at that. Let's just say it was just a very busy shift. So by the time I got home last night, I was exhausted, so I slept really well. And so this morning, I've just been doing a lot of stuff with tarot and just finding my time to ground and just get some of my energy back, which has been good because you guys all, I'm an advocate for doing that in general, And it was really cool because yesterday I met someone with a very similar mindset to my own, and she had a love of rocks and crystals like me, and to get through a hard time, she had rose quartz on her. So I thought that was really cool, So bear with me here. Finding my time to ground and just get some of my... All right. Bless you. Put me on largest. All right. Very cool. All right. So if you guys happen to hop on while I'm on here today, then I'll be able to interact with you. I've got my laptop set up and we're here together. I think all that's left is I'll light my incense and then we'll start into the Snow White spread. Because you guys know I love a good theme, So let's see here. So feel free to drop in the comments to tell me how you're doing. I hope that you're doing well as we come to the end of the week and we're approaching the weekend. And feel free to share any plans. What do you have going on? Like I had mentioned in my other post this morning, I've got a date night with my hubby this evening. So I'll spend time with the kids and all that good stuff. And Tim and I will make sure they're good and taken care of before we go to our date night. We've been married we've been together 18 years, married for 20. December will make 21 years, I think. I'm to that point I have to do math on a calculator to be able to kind of like remember things like how old I am, how long I've been married. It's like, where did my 20s go? And why did that go by so quickly, I do not have an answer for this, but what the elders say is true. Like, time truly does fly by. So you guys know that I've been deriving a lot of inspiration from Sasha Graham's 365 tarot spreads. Again, I'm always advocating for this book. There's a lot of tarot spread books on the market that I have flipped through. This is probably one, if not the best books I've acquired with tarot spreads. I just love how she's got factual information. And again, there's 365 to derive inspiration from. So it's a really good book to have. And so what we'll be doing today is entitled The Snow White Spread. And let's see what Sasha says about it. The Grimm brothers' tale, Snow White and Rose Red, features another character named Snow White, who bears no relation to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it says that Snow White's apple, a powerful symbol of temptation and a reference to the sensual fall of Adam and Eve, is found in the Lover's card. So, yeah, I could see that resemblance, Let's see. So, back in 1938, Snow White was released. This German fairy tale of the girl pursued by a jealous queen, fed a poison apple, and kissed by a handsome prince earned a standing ovation from a glittering, star-studded crowd. And isn't it something how these novels were written many, many years ago and live on to this day? We still have little girls dreaming of being princesses, from this dated older literature, So with this spread, a summation of this spread would be the questions of this spread are inspired by the themes and symbols of the iconic fairy tale. So I am noting a trend with these Disney themed spreads, She is deriving it, from the story. And as you cast your cards, whistle while you work and cast your cards with a light touch in the shape of a ruby red apple. So in her book, which I don't have quite all the altar space to do this, but she's got her cards shaped like an apple. I would say do what is practical and what resounds with you. So for me, there's a total of 10 cards. It's quite a few. This is another one of those monster spreads. So I'm going to go across with mine. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of situate my camera here. Like this. There we go. And I am going to be using the deck Everyday Witch by Deborah Blake. This is one of my favorite decks. It's really just packed full of detail and color, and it is based on Rider-Waite-Smith, so it's an excellent book. And there's even an oracle deck that complements it. And then this is what the back of the cards look like. They're really cool. So just because I do enjoy shuffling, I'm going to shuffle it a couple times. And like I said in my previous go live, I'm not going to keep going over what I would do with, say, somebody I'm reading for, because I just don't want to sound redundant. So feel free to check out my previous go lives as to how you would kind of get that rapport going with whoever you're reading for. And I am going to pretend that I'm reading for somebody else here. And I'm going to lay out a total of 10 cards here. Let's see. Aren't they so pretty? It's probably one of my favorite. I think I mentioned that already. It's one of my favorite decks. I just love the color usage. And let's see here. I'm looking at my laptop. Let's see if I can get a little bit more centered here. I just want you guys to be able to see them. Yeah, I think that is an improvement. All right, let's see here. So we're going to flip them all over, and then we're going to delve into each one as per Sasha Graham's spread. All right, very cool. So the first card, which will be starting, this is the first row. The one I'm pointing to is considered the first card of this row, and it is going to stand for the miraculous birth of Snow White, or you could just simply think of the birth of Snow White. And it asks us, or the querent, what is possible. So with any birth, we're thinking of a new beginning, right? We have the Nine of Wands. So take a minute to kind of take in this card and what you see. And I know that my lamp is shining on it in such a way, right? So I'm trying to kind of hold it up for you. So when I look at this card as far as like the main question of what is possible, I see a need for someone to pretty well have their defenses more so down, because this young lady, her back is against a tree and she's got more of a defensive stance going on, and it just looks like they've been like battling maybe with other people or situations. Her head is wrapped a bit. It's possible she was injured in some form or fashion. Her little familiar, her cat's up in the tree. It doesn't look very happy either. It looks a lot like my May that passed away on me a couple years ago, which is one of the cats that I've really been attached to and loved in my life. So as far as what is possible, when I see this, I see the need to let go of past failures and hurts, because it can compromise like our passion, our ability to be open to loving others, to trying new things in life. So when I see this, I see a need to heal, you know. Let's see, and I see Honor's on here. Oh, thank you, Honor. I got my dress from Salt Attic, which is a store in West County Mall. They sell like tarot decks and a lot of like dresses like what me and you would wear. And it's even got pockets. Can you believe it? And it's really ladylike too. It goes like below the knee. So it's a really like classier dress, you know? Yeah, so thank you very much, you know? And I like how it's got the tarot theme, right? So I'm wearing my Medusa necklace right here and got a little bit of rose quartz right there, you know. And you've been there. Very cool. Yes, me and Maddie love that store. It's one of our very favorites. I always go in there when we go to that mall, you know. So that is what this first card would mean intuitively looking at it, you know. It's good to let our defenses and our walls down, right? And so you would talk to whoever you're reading for, or if it's for yourself, you would think on why you feel that way and how to kind of begin the process of healing. So the second card is for the death of Snow White's mother, which our question would be, what feminine wisdom was lost with, say, her mother's death? And we have the Ace of Pentacles. And when I look at this card, it makes me sad in regards to, say, somebody losing their mother and that feminine wisdom that, you know. And what I see here that is lost is, even though like aces are beginnings and the pentacles are all about the tangible and the earthly type things, I feel like with the loss of a mother, we have lost a portion of where we came from. Our mothers birth us, correct? So if when you lose your mother, which thankfully is not a pain I have not experienced that yet. I'm not looking forward to it in life, because I know how it felt to lose my father, and I'm not looking forward to one day losing my mother. But I would say what was lost would be that sense of feeling grounded, you know, and then having to, in that healing, which I don't think we ever totally get over the loss of a parent, finding some form of stability in the form of the life that we have, and finding our roots in that, if that makes sense when I look at this card. I like how she's got her little black cat by her feet, you know, which is a nod to mysticism and the occult. So again, leaning into your faith and nature. Because again, when I also think of mother, I think of Mother Earth. It's the earth that sustains us. And then in the background, we see home. So, and how this person is grasping for that. And how the clouds are kind of receding and we have the sun. So it's finding that hope in the dark, right? So I like that. I like that for this spread. We got that card for that. So let's see. The third card going over from the left would be standing for the evil stepmother, which the question would be, what would be our or our querent's greatest challenge? And this really has a flow to it. We have the Five of Cups. So it's grieving over these losses and failures in our life and looking around us at the bigger picture to see what remains. And again, having that grounding, which is important, but being very grateful for what we do have still remaining. Because here we see the three overturned cups that this person has got her full attention on. But here on the table, we've got the other two cups, and we've got a bottle of wine or something or another to drink, and there's food. Her little familiars on top of the table there. And I like the balloons in this picture, which reminds me of how Sometimes people release balloons in honor of a loved one or when they make a wish of some sort. And that kind of brings to mind the Suit of Swords as far as air. That's where my mind goes. It's like a thought or a communication drifting upward. So maybe while this individual lets go and heals, maybe with the intent, inscribe it on the balloon, and with all of her heart and her intent, focus it on these balloons. Like it could be something she wishes for, or it could be a means of coping and letting go. So it could be all the things that she's releasing back into the universe as she sets the balloons free and lets them go where they may, that could be very symbolic of healing. So I think that it does resound very much with the question, what is our greatest challenge? Which, again, with all the water and emotions here, it would be very much the healing. And this is going to take time. And it's got to resound with that individual determining for ourselves or who we're reading for, what is this loss? And what resounds with the person as far as those first steps of moving forward and healing from it. The fourth card from the left would stand for the murder of Snow White's father, which asks what masculine wisdom is lost. And we have the Page of Cups. And when I think back to the movie, I think of before Snow White's father met her evil stepmother, how she was rather close to her father, who supported her and loved her. They were poor, but they felt safe and they were happy together. So when I see this as far as the masculine energy that was lost, it would be that play, because our pages are messengers, very playful and thoughtful, right? Very green. As a part of her innocence in childhood was lost in that story. So with this, as far as the masculine realm goes, I would basically internally reflect or ask the querent that naive way of being, that playfulness, that fun before all this hurt and pain came to be. How do we get back to having a little bit of fun and not taking everything so seriously, right? And maybe even delve into what are things that bring us joy. That, again, we have to make time for these things and carve them out in life, right? So this would be a very, I think, progressive way of moving forward from these cards, as to this would be an outlet or a way of healing, right? And then with our fifth over, we have the imprisonment of Snow White. And the question would be, what holds me, or what holds the querent captive? And we have the Knight of Swords. So with this, usually the Knights are all about that forward momentum and so forth. We're no longer in that energy of the page, and with the Knight, especially in the swords, they move rather fast in a forward trajectory. What we have around our Knight in this picture would appear to be, they look to be crows to me, but they could possibly be ravens. It's hard to say because you can't see the beak very well, but it appears to be shorter. And below our Knight, we have more of the greenery and the water. So we have the logic and emotion. I would say something holding the person captive would be their logic versus their heart. I think any of us that are human, on this plane of existence, when we've lost a relationship, a loved one, a friendship, various losses we go through in life with these ups and downs, mentally we'll tell ourselves, logically, we try to make sense of the situation, right? But our heart tells us something totally else, like something different, and it can be at odds with our mind, our heart versus our mind. It is so painful to go through. So with this, I'm seeing this little, this younger boy or young man fight against, it's like he's fighting against these birds. which could stand for all the dark shadows that follow him no matter where he goes, because this energy, again, sex doesn't matter with tarot, they're still very much in a hurting place, feeling pain, and trying to figure out how to rise above these things that have been holding them down, right? So that would really open up the conversation with ourselves or others as to what are these shadows that follow them, which I think by this point in time in the spread, we'd have a pretty fairly good feel about what that is. And again, it resonates with us about how we rise above and heal, you know. And so moving forward, we have the expulsion of Snow White. What makes me or makes the querent feel like an outsider? And this is kind of a sad spread that we've gotten for this, really, with how this narrative, because tarot very much is a narrative, it's a story, with the Three of Swords. And again, what is making me or the querent feel like an outsider would be this picture. You see the three swords going through the heart, very stormy, rainy outside, windows open, so it's like someone's open to maybe healing, but maybe doesn't know how to move forward with that. And there's a journal on their bed, but with the quill and the ink is overturned. It looks like maybe they had been going to sleep. Maybe they took a nap. There's like a place where their head was. But what I see here is somebody trying to cope, because you guys know I'm a big advocate of journaling and thinking to try to give some rationality and structure to your thoughts, right? And I do frequently suggest that to others in whatever shape or form it takes for them. But see, now they're out of ink. So that kind of burns out that outlet. And they've tried resting, because you can see their head was down on that pillow. The bed is unmade. And then here's their heart on a table with these swords very much still in place. And we still have that black bird out the window, you know. And again, this is just kind of sad, you know. So this is where it's like maybe they've been alone too long, and maybe it's time to pull other people into this picture with them, if that makes sense, you know, as a way of maybe freeing themselves up from this hurt and pain that they're carrying, you know. So the next card would be entitled Hiding in the Woods. Where do you run for safety? And we have the Page of Wands, and I really like that we're getting this, especially with how we got the Page of Cups here. So as far as where do you or I run into the woods, or our querent, would be with this page energy. So I feel like it's finding that passion, that power to create, the need to manifest, to be able to focus our energy into a cause. Maybe honestly something outside of ourselves is needed. And even the little witch's familiar is like encouraging the little witch on, like, hey, follow me, let's go down a new path, because the one that we've been on, it's no good anymore. You know, it's the end of a journey of some sort, and it's time to start a new journey. Even though our pages are not confident and unsure of themselves. And I like how the page is holding their broom. It is very reminiscent of the Fool, because they've got a small bag here. What are they going to take on this new Fool's journey? Right? So it's really something how our cards sometimes remind you of other cards. You know, yeah, I don't know if you guys do that like I do it, but I see connections even when I'm not reading tarot. I'm seeing things that remind me of tarot. So yeah, and I like how it looks like the turning of seasons. Here it appears that we have fall, and this appears to be spring. So that brings to mind the Wheel of Fortune. It's a change of season, right? So what season are we currently weathering? And now the seasons are changing into something new. You know, but are we brave enough to put that one foot in front of the other and move forward And that can be scary, and it can be hard to let things go when you just don't feel like you're ready to, you know. The 8th card is entitled Meeting the Dwarves. Who are my allies? Or who is my ally? And we have Justice. That's an interesting card to get for this, right? Who is my ally? So with this, when I look at this card and I'm asking that question, I would think this would be somebody in our lives where they would hold us accountable. Again, there's a need for balance. So this could be somebody who may challenge us, the way that we're looking or approaching something. They may be sharing their own experiences, but they might kind of tell us something about ourselves or the situation that's kind of hard for us to handle. But given this overall situation would be very much needed, because again, we need healing, we need some restoration of balance here. And I like the predominant purple in the background, which is a nod to the divine. So I see the need for somebody to lean into their faith in whatever shape or form that would take for them. Prayer, possibly forgiveness, but there's a need to pull the curtains back. But there's going to be some conflict here. And I would say, kind of going back into the very beginning of this reading, we got the 9 of Wands. When we talk to this individual, or the querent does, it's really important for them to be self-aware, not to be so on the defensive, especially given their vulnerable state. They're going to be more so prone to be feeling and acting in this manner just due to where they are mentally and emotionally, right? For the 9th card, we have the poison apple. When the question is, what lie do I believe is the truth? And we have the Ace of Cups. And that is, again, we're getting some interesting cards with this. So what lie do I believe is the truth? So I would simply think what we're currently, the way we are filling our cup, is it healthy? Is it adequate? And I have to throw this out there because it's a common source of people coping because they want to numb the pain. Maybe are they drinking too much alcohol? A little bit's okay, but are they drinking a whole lot? Okay. Are they not getting out enough around other people and maybe getting the exercise in? Is there drug abuse going on? We're looking at ways that people cope to numb the emotions because they just don't have it in them to face the issue at hand because it's too painful. And I remember when I lost my father, and I never did this, but I remember the thought going across my mind back then. Tim and I we went out for lunch, shortly after I found out about his death. And I woke up in pain and crying, grieving. I'd never in my life went through something like that. And I remember telling my husband, I wish there was some way I could numb this pain because it hurts so damn bad. And the thought crossed my mind, maybe I'll just drink a lot and get drunk just to numb this pain in my heart, because I literally would wake up in pain. Like it was this heart-crushing pain. It hurt my chest. So that's what I would ask the querent or myself or whoever. The way that we're tending to our cup, is it healthy and sustainable? Because it very well might not be. And what seeds are we planting that might grow into something that is thorny and again, just not good for us on our path, And again, now we're seeing these white birds. I think of doves, which you think about like a clean start, breaking away, forgiveness. There is a symbol of hope. So that's one way to look at that card, I think. Honor says, oof, I relate to using maladaptive tools for coping. It's so much healthier and self-loving when we find ways to process and release pain without them. I really agree with you, Honor. I do, because as humans, we're flawed. Our bodies are made the way they are, to where when we take in anything in excess, the bodies crave it. And it doesn't. These shadows, they become part of our shadow selves. We're just not facing them because we have just these coping mechanisms that hurt us, and they hurt the people around us too. And I think it's why any of us, none of us are above it. That it's hard, but to be able to reach out and ask for help, or even tell somebody, this is what I'm thinking, and I don't want to go down that road. Kind of like saving us from ourselves sometimes. And that's why, like, tarot reading is such a great thing if you do it for yourself. Or, like, Honor knows this, because, like, I feel like I'm talking to a kindred spirit with Honor. It's just sometimes we need a friend, and these, honest to goodness, are great to meditate upon. They're conversation starters, and because we're visual, it's one of our senses, it gives you a visual framework, right? To try to provide some context into what we're thinking and how we're feeling. And then for our 10th card, it stands for kissing the prince. What does love teach me about life? And we have the world. And I love that this is the card that we got to kind of wrap up this spread, because it shows this witch on the beach, and you see how she's got one foot in the water and then one on land. So she's still very much, she's in touch with her emotions. She's sitting there being present, allowing herself to experience all of it, what we consider the good and the bad, while she's got one foot on the beach. So she's got that logic. And I love how her little witch hat is like floating away on the wind, and she's doing so with a smile on her face. She's got her little familiar there, and she's got her little picnic lunch. The wind is going. She's got her little home in the background, and she's choosing to be present, and she's choosing to let go. And what I see for ourselves, or the querent, or whoever this reading would be for, is there is hope to be had. There's got to be time to process all these emotions, and nobody has to go through things alone unless they choose to do so, right? But it's all about the foundation that we choose to build our house in life. Is it a sturdy structure? It's about allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and process them. Grounding is huge and important, but also the importance of just simply letting go, right? And not allowing this thing to live inside us and eat away our soul, our happiness, our joy, shutting us off from being able to love others. So what does it teach me? What does love teach me about life? Love is everything. It is the summation of everything. At the end of our life journey, that is our legacy, would be our friends, our family. They continue to live on. It's bigger than just me or you, isn't it? Like, we live in a big, just huge world, right? With all the various elements. We're talking about spirit and how we play into the role of this huge, expansive world that we live in. And our lives are so brief and small, as far as in contrast to everybody in the world around us. So I think it's just realizing our place in the world, and that our friends and family, they're it. That is our journey, right? So this is a hopeful card, though. There's healing to be had here. And then, of course, I always offer people, if they want to take a picture of their, spread, or you may draw one clarifier for each one, if clarification is needed. And, you are more than welcome, Honor. I value you and your friendship so much. Like, when I lit my candle here, which, let's see if I can, I've got it lit again. Let's see if I can do it here. Oh, that's not good. It totally fell off the holder. Let's see if I could get my candle in. Sorry, Honor. I didn't mean to kind of blast your ears out. Isn't that so pretty? Like, I love this so much. You kind of zoom in on that. You can see that. There we go. You know what I did is I used some of my Rhiannon oil this morning. And then, let's see if I can get this light right. Because I just like, yeah, this thing like totally like messed up here. So I used some of my Rhiannon oil this morning. And I have this little branch that's pointy on the end that I use to inscribe things into my candles. Rather pointy. I've been using them for a while, but you can use any branch. And then, of course, the red glitter. Wherever my red glitter went, I did have, oh, here it is. And I got this from Walmart. So once I put a little bit of oil, which I know you know how to do this, put a little bit of oil on your candle, get you a paper towel or piece of paper, and you use the glitter to go over it. I mean, bam, you know? And then before you do that, you just inscribe. You can do it with like a little stick from outside that you use a knife to make pointy or whatever. You inscribe your intent to the candle and you hold it, like say as you pray or whatever you want to call that, to set your intent. Finish doing what I just showed you with the oil and the glitter. And you light it and you burn it and you snuff it out. You don't blow it out. You snuff it out and then you discard it in the trash when it cools down. So that's like one way you can use candles. And I think when I very first started my group, I was posting about the different colors and usages of that. If you have questions, feel free to let me know. But they also have books about candle magic that are very helpful. All you got to do, go to Pathways or Mystic Valley. If you're in the St. Louis area, they've got books, and they've got books on Amazon. I prefer to buy from small businesses because it keeps them in business. So even though I buy stuff from Amazon, I make sure that I go and support my small businesses too, because it supports the people there that you care about, and it supports the business. So I'm always about small business. And I think that sums us up. And yeah, I will talk to you later. And thanks for spending some time with me, Honor. And thank you. It is an adorable deck, isn't it? I love the Everyday Witch. And I've got the Oracle deck too that matches it. It's nice to have stuff that's matchy-matchy. And not to mention, I don't know. I don't think you have this deck. Look at the book that comes with the deck. Look how thick that is. That's a nice book, isn't it? It's really cool. And thank you about my candle. I'm seeing their comment on that. I mean, I made quite the mess when my phone fell off. But yeah, I love the candle and it smells so good too. So I will talk to you later and have a good day. Bye.